we've got a full meeting today, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started with these announcements. Thank you all for joining us. So we've got a couple really important dates I just want to share with you. First of all, thank you to ASCE for also joining us. So I'm going to go through my announcements here, but if you have anything to share with your group as well, you can go ahead and jump in after me. I'll give you a minute to do that. And then we have M&S, who is our sponsor, who will be giving a quick introduction. So our important dates coming up tomorrow are sponsorships. If you want to be a sponsor of your Central Coast APWA chapter, those are due tomorrow. But I do believe that if you just want to give us a verbal commitment, the payment is due by the end of the month. And then also our Professional and Project of the Year award nominations are due tomorrow. I do know that people have been requesting extensions. So again, a little flexibility there, but we do want to verbals by tomorrow. So that said, I think there's going to be some links posted in the chat here for both of those applications. And then on February 25th, we have our internship program, which is funded mainly by our sponsorships, where we each year fund an agency to have offer a paid internship for 1 or 2, depending on how much engagement we get from our sponsors. We offer $3,000 sponsored internships for public works civil engineering students in the public works in public agencies. So that said, then on March 10th, we are also going to be hosting a fleet electrification training, and details on that will be distributed in our newsletter. If you don't receive our newsletter and you'd like to, go ahead and ping me here or reach out to me, amy.snyder@stantec.com. I'm happy to get you added to our list. And then here's more information on how to host an intern. Jennifer Rice with the City of San Luis Obispo leads that program for us. She's happy to answer any questions you may have. That is also advertised regularly in our newsletter. And then lastly, just a quick overview on our fleet electrification training that will be on March 10th. And thank you to our sponsors. So I'm going to pass it over, with sponsors in mind, to Nick with M&S.
Thanks, Amy. Was there any ASCE announcements that we wanted to do before?
Oh, thank you.
Maybe?
It doesn't sound like it. So I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Okay, great. I will share my screen. I have just a super short presentation on M&S. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. So hi, everybody. My name is Nick Panofsky with M&S Engineers. I've been with M&S for coming up on a decade here in San Luis Obispo. So I've had a good chance to meet a lot of you. But it's always nice to be able to do a little presentation and remind everybody that we're here, especially when we're not able to do these meetings in person. So M&S is a full service civil engineering firm, and we specialize in some core markets. If my slide would change, there we go. So we serve especially the water resources, transportation, government, and federal markets. And we specialize in civil engineering, construction management, surveying, and project program management and staff augmentation. So to go a little bit more detail into each of the, clients. So pretty much every public agency between Monterey, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and Ventura County we've worked for, and our reaches go far beyond that. This slide just shows a selection of some of the clients that we are happy to provide services for of our divisions. To dive into our services a little bit more depth. So our civil engineering group, that's the group that I'm involved in primarily. We have a transportation design group, and so they work on everything from resurfacing roadways and bike paths all the way up through freeway expansions and highway interchanges. One example is currently working on the Highway 101 widening project through Montecito. It's a good project. Then our water resources group, we work on planning, conveyance, treatment, and rehabilitation projects for water, recycled water, stormwater, and wastewater. And all projects covered under that, everything from new treatment plants, rehabilitating treatment plants, pump station pipelines, everything in there. And we're supported by our construction management group. So it's a dedicated team to providing construction services, inspection, and management for transportation and water projects. So everything from new bridges and highways, freeway interchanges, railway projects. And then on the water side, new treatment plants, pump stations, pipelines, really as well with our design group to provide additional specialty and constructability reviews. Our government services group provides pretty much any service that a public agency needs but can't manage on their own, either if they don't have the available staff or maybe they don't have the technical specialty in-house. So a lot of the services that we provide under this department would be like plan review, development review, plan checks, staff augmentation, grant writing. We've been really successful in getting a lot of money for a lot of clients recently. Program and project management, disaster assistance, stormwater assistance, and anything else that could be needed. And finally, we've got our surveying group. And so they support our planning and design and transportation groups or construction management groups, as well as providing direct surveying services for exterior clients. So we provide a comprehensive suite of services and really support on any project. We currently have 179 full-time staff between 9 offices. Locally, we have offices in San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura for easy access to local projects. And that kind of wraps it up. This is a great photo project that I designed that is finishing up construction. It's a wastewater treatment plant pond rehabilitation project for the Camarosa Water District. And with that, I can take any questions that anybody has about M&S.
Nice view. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nick. Always good to see you. If anyone does have questions for Nick, you can go ahead and share them in the chat or reach out to him directly.
Was that the chlorination basin? The chlorinated
no,
water?
it's a wastewater storage and recycled water storage, depending on what they need to use it for at the time.
Right.
So it's typically just downstream of their chlorine.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to kick it over to Rich Murphy with SLOCOG and Steve Kahn with Canon.
Okay, so patience, everybody. We're trying to do a little duo here in my office. I did check Steve's Vax card, so we're good, and he checked mine. So even though it sounds like in office masks come off maybe by midweek next week, so that's going to be great. My name is Rich Murphy. I'm with the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, and Steve Kahn is here.
I am Steve Kahn. I worked for local agencies for many years, and now I'm working for Canon, helping them manage capital projects.
I'm going to teleport Steve into Oracle Park in San Francisco so that he knows that I mean business when I have people here in my office. Okay.
Go Dodgers.
So thank you. So I'm going to run through some things here with San Luis Obispo Council of Governments just to kind of give you more of a high level where we are with some of our the summary of our funding programs, maybe some opportunities to continue some good relationships we have with many of you here in the county, and then we'll just, we can, however you like to facilitate this, Amy. If I'm happy to pause at certain points. There might be some natural break points, and if we want to do that, we can engage in conversation or take it all at the end. But let me see if I can't pull off the first order of business here, which is sharing a screen. And let's That's skill number 1. And let's see if we can get there. I'm going to come to this screen and I'm going to say action. And I'm going to say share. So there we are, right? We got Steve Kahn, the Dodger. You do see us, right, Amy? Nodding head, yep. And then there's me, Rich Murphy, SLOCOG. I'm the programming chief here. I've been with SLOCOG for over 20 years. And Steve and I have a long history working together. When Steve was at the City of Atascadero in the Public Works Department, the director there, Steve worked with us in terms of securing revenues and monies for the 101-41 interchange project, which is a beautiful interchange with the brick work that really captures the essence of downtown Atascadero. And Steve was very aggressive and assertive in seizing on an opportunity back in the early 2000s when the Price Street extension in the South County, which was at the time the solution to the congestion on US 101, was to provide a continuation of the frontage road system. The city politics were such that they couldn't make that happen. We had some extra money then available to reprogram, and the city of Atascadero was the lucky recipient of said funds. But this project has served the city well for a good 10 years. And so we have this relationship, Steve and I, as a representative on our TTAC, our Technical Advisory Committee, during that time, securing other funds for the city of Atascadero, such as downtown streetscape enhancement monies through the Federal Transportation Enhancement Program at the time, some pedestrian improvements around the lake and along 41, bus stop improvements there, which is like a little transit center. So we have a nice thing happening. The Lewis Avenue Bridge also. So kudos to Steve for all that he did when he served the city of Atascadero some years back. Let's see if we can flip the script here. So for those of you that don't know us at the Council of Governments and M&S, I see that you have relationships working with our sister agencies, both to the north and to the south, but our primary function really is in transportation planning and coordination. We are the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the RTPA. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time in sort of our background, but we certainly work very closely with our 7 cities and the county of San Luis Obispo, all serving as members of our board of directors. And we have technical staff that work with us on our advisory committees, which has been a great collaborative process as we develop many of our products here at the agency. So I just want to quickly hit on these topics. The first being long-term planning, which isn't my bailiwick, but I do want to capture a few things happening in that area. But really, where are we doing our near-term priorities? What are our near-term priorities, our near-term projects, investments, those being shovel-ready in the next 5 years? And then we'll hit some of the funding programs that are currently in the mix, as well as just some things that might be of interest to this group in terms of services to our agency and perhaps some of our member agencies. And then I do have a couple announcements I also wanted to share, Amy, at the end. So with respect to the long-range planning, there are plenty of challenges associated with looking ahead 25 years. But our primary emphasis is looking at the emerging issues, system deficiencies. We have to navigate many of the new state policies, the clean air plan for transportation infrastructure has been has challenges many of the larger metro areas. For a small area like ours, we're pretty solid. I think this county and our policymakers over the years have been very vocal with respect to managing growth, if you will, and thereby not being strong supporters of capacity increasing type projects, but more so working with the maximization of our current network, making it as efficient as possible, fixing it first, type of issues. Whoops, that's the mouse playing havoc there. So with the long range planning, obviously there's changes now as we start developing policies and updating policies and looking at projects over the course of the next 25 years. And this is a plan that our staff here, the long range planning staff, are doing, the 2023 regional transportation plan. But obviously new things to consider with respect to how people's behaviors have shifted with traveling to workplaces is down in our county about 33%. There's been an increase in traveling to retail and recreational centers by 7%. But these are all things that are being looked at as the long range plan is in development. I'm going to see if I can use the keyboard instead so I don't jump around too much. Let's see. We'll see if we can get that fixed, Steve, for you before. So anyway, this is just last night. In fact, we had a scoping meeting for the environmental document that will be the companion or the intro for the long range plan. That happened here, well, virtually. And I haven't gotten any feedback with respect to what kind of input came from either the public or other folks interested in our long range planning process. But there is a great set of tools that drive much of the engagement in the COVID world for our long range plan. That's the website, slocog.org engage. You can find mapping tools, budget tools. It's pretty interactive as it relates to folks, be it lay people, public decision makers, professionals, providing insights and input on various projects, project locations, needs, and then playing the budget game in terms of what can we really realistically afford over a 25-year time horizon based on the revenues that we reasonably expect. So there's a whole juggling act, but it's quite intuitive, and we encourage you to take a little time to look at that. At the end of the day, you get this massive, you have the long range plan, a massive project listings from the North County to the South County, Central and the North Coast. And we organize this and sort these by short-term horizon, mid-term horizon, long-term horizon. And then those projects that fall within those three timeframes are considered to be constrained and fundable. And then those that we don't feel we have realistic revenue to accommodate, they fall into the category of unconstrained. And so all I wanted to share on that is it's the short-term horizon projects that our team in the programming division in the midterm horizon that we really want to focus on getting implemented and get some dirt turning, if you will. And then I thought I'd just share this. So some of the assumptions that the long range team makes when they're developing the project listings. Of course, it's based on many of the existing projects that are in the hopper and queue, and we have current cost estimates. Steve will be talking about costs and escalations, but we do have to make some general assumptions on project budget type thing. And so this is the general framework that is used by the long range team as they develop this project listing for 25 years. So let's jump into the near-term implementation, which really is what our group in the programming division is focused on. Much of what we do, we find, is managing the expectations of the agencies that are promoting certain projects. Things aren't like they were, even when Steve was at the city of Atascadero. There, as we all know, some of this stuff does happen at a glacial speed. The example that was shared earlier with, wasn't necessarily an example, but M&S has the luxury if TAMC and SBCAG is their client, as their clients, because they have local revenues through a regional sales tax measure, which our county doesn't. So our timeline is really driven by when funding becomes available, which sometimes, right, you have to stop, hold, pattern, and that can take the wind out of the sails on much of this process. But we want to share with you today some of the things that we've been focusing our investments on. key thing here for an agency like ours that doesn't have the discretionary regional sales tax monies like other counties in the state of California is that we are pushing more and more on local commitment of funds to help demonstrate skin in the game. So much in the past where we as a regional agency could do some of the front end investment, like the engineering and environmental studies and the design work. We have a full expectation that if a project is going to find its way into the funding hopper, that the local agency is making those funding commitments. Of course, state to state routes, that's another story. We'll make major commitments, and maybe we'll hit on that as we go into some of these projects. In our RTIP, this is just a quick snapshot, hard to read, but in our biennial funding program, which is the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, this is a summary page that shows over a 5-year time horizon where we have committed money and where we are expecting some successes with grants. What we have here is about 15 projects that are in our queue, some of which are fully funded, some of which rely heavily on grants. We'll get to those specific projects, but up here in the top just demonstrates how of a $292 million program, 32% of the funding is coming from local agencies. In our county, local agencies do have some general purpose sales tax. So, and they obviously, many of them have pretty good regional impact or development impact fee programs. But these are 32% of this $292 million are commitments being made by the local agencies to match and leverage our money to deliver these particular projects. And these projects, as we get into them, obviously in the South County, and this area is considered to be a priority corridor for the SLOCOG board and for the regional agency. And quite a bit of resources have been committed to this project. I will say this, where we had outside private sector support on the project initiation documents, it was determined from our predecessor, Pete Rogers, my current boss, executive director, Ron DeCarli, our prior executive director. The thought process was to ensure state buy-in on concepts that are either unconventional or considered to be pilot projects or require design exceptions, that it behooves us to bring Caltrans into the process early. They were hired as the consultant of choice to deliver the environmental document, the P&ED phase of this of the congestion relief project in the Pismo Straits. And I guess the jury to some extent is still out on the design phase, but I think maybe not. But all the funding is secured for all pre-construction work. And what we're wanting to see, obviously, on this project is the ability to get to a grant-funded improvement. And I just wanted to maybe go back and just simply state, when I referred to 101 as in the South County as a priority corridor, we went through the process of updating a 2014 multimodal corridor plan that was just approved in 2021 approved and acknowledged by our board in August. Kelly McClendon from Caltrans District 5, Stephen Hanamaikai in our office, the lead staff, Cambridge Systematics was a consultant that Caltrans as the lead had hired. And the corridor planning process, as many of you know, is a necessary exercise to compete for some of these state grants. And so without getting into a lot of detail on the 101 multimodal corridor plan, this is about a 38-mile corridor from Santa Margarita south to Santa Maria, and with special attention given to the Pismo Straits and the alt route of Price Canyon and 227. So more in this general vicinity of looking at circulation between the city of San Luis Obispo south to the 5 cities and the congestion that occurs there. So I'm going to just quick, we're at 12:25, we're doing fine, right? Nod, all is good. Okay, keep moving. But in this plan, right, we had a package of projects identified. The county of San Luis Obispo as one of the stakeholders along the corridor with respect to parallel frontage system safety and connection with the Bob Jones Trail has produced, with the support of Wallace here locally, this is a wonderful rendering showing roundabout on the east and west side of APWA Beach Drive interchange with US 101. And this project in this micro cosm of San Luis Obispo to the 5 cities, 227, 101, and the package of improvements that provide a tangible benefit is fully funded. This is something that the SLOCOG board had just took action on in January. And so we expect this project to be ready to list in early or in 2023. The money's all locked in. And that's a very good thing with respect to one of the legs of the stool to provide improvements and stability for this corridor. Then I just wanted to note also up in city of San Luis Obispo is the Prado Road overpass, and it's actually Prado Road interchange. It was what we like at SLOCOG is when projects go through the environmental phase, through the P&ED phase, and components of independent utility are defined so that it's not a all or nothing project. We don't have that luxury to look at all or nothing because of our funding stream, again, not being a sales tax county. So this project has been presented to us in phases. Phase 1 being the overpass and the southbound ramps, or I'm sorry, the northbound ramps. The southbound ramps are on hold as a phase 2 and to access the San Luis Ranch project. But this in our RTIP is showing as a fully funded project. I think all of us know, and the city has made the commitment. So for SLOCOG to be a partner when this project was about a $30 million project, we concluded the regional trip generation benefits was about 30%. And I think we came in at $6 or $7 million. It was less than 30 at the time in terms of an estimate. Now it's a $60 million project. The onus for the time being is solely on the city to close that funding gap. And the city has made that statement and commitment to close that funding gap. But the way we're working with the city is we're looking at this project in our RTIP, in our capital improvement program, that gives them the ability to knock on our door 2 years from now and try to help offset some of those local costs. And we're hoping, we feel confident that we'd be in a position to increase our commitment to Prado at that time on the condition that it's delivered, the project is delivered within the 5-year capital improvement program. So that's a topic for another day, but this is an excellent jobs housing balance type of a project that creates more housing opportunities closer to proximity to work. Again, often providing some level of relief on 101 as a result. And so we find this to be a great investment from SLOCOG's perspective. And we mentioned how the legs of the stool, the Bob Jones City to Sea or the City to 5 Cities is critical as part of the multimodal investments and how Sacramento is looking at these different programs. The County Parks Department secured an $18 million grant from the CTC, the Transportation Commission, to build the 4.5 mile gap between the Octagon Barn and basically the connection to the APWA Beach interchange that we just looked at. So we're excited to see how that progresses. There are some issues with right of way that the county is struggling with, but feels confident that they will navigate those challenges. There is a timely use of funds on so many of these grants and projects. And they're aware of the restrictions and how to apply for time extensions and the justifications that need to be made. But and we are a funding partner as well on this project with the county. Then a very important one that's been in the news lately, that is the fourth leg of this stool for this part of the 101 corridor, priority corridor, is the parallel route to South San Luis Obispo 227 into Pismo. RIC Engineering, hired by the County of San Luis Obispo, the project team, Caltrans, Paul Valadeo, and Genaro Diaz from the county, and Steve Hanmakai from our office, did a fantastic job working and doing outreach. Anna Devers, our PIO at SLOCOG, doing outreach with the community at Los Ranchos and the country clubs to for them to fully understand the nature of the improvement strategy. Again, kudos to the design team and the work that came out of the intersection control evaluations, where they looked at signalization compared to roundabout solution. A lot of great collateral information provided to our policymakers that had a lot of questions and wanted to see the science, if you will, that warrants and justifies a recommendation of going forward with a roundabout. I will say that the corridor, the 227 corridor, is a compilation of several improvements, right? It's got the Buckley Road intersection, which warrants and calls for a roundabout, the Los Ranchos roundabout, and then some improvements at the intersections of Crestmont Road and Middle Ranch Road. And so all that collective group of projects is partially funded. We have $9 million here at SLOCOG committed, with the county functioning as the lead. I know they're going to put something out in a board agenda item here soon, seeking services for the design of the Buckley roundabout. But phase one, which is Los Ranchos and the Crestmont Road intersection improvements and Middle Ranch Road improvements, that's fully funded. To complete the corridor, we need another $5 million, of which we're really holding out hope that under the new federal infrastructure program, the bill program, bipartisan infrastructure law, that we're going to secure a $5 million federal grant. So we have $9 million that we can try to leverage to go after the gap funding that's needed. Let's see why we have this. Oh, someone again. Oh, who's out there? Who's out there? Am I putting you to sleep? Okay, gonna carry on. This is the footprint at Los Ranchos. I'm gonna wag my finger. Mute. Double wag. Okay. I just talk over him, Amy? I can't see your face, Amy. I'm gonna assume you're saying, yeah, talk over him. Maybe you can mute that one if you can facilitate.
I'm trying to figure out how to mute them.
Okay. Appreciate that. I'm gonna take a sip of water and look at the clock. We're at 12:34.
I believe it's Eric Radio. I can't figure out how to mute you, but can you mute?
I'm gonna text him. Amy.
Okay, so he's gonna try to give him a text. That's okay. I'll just keep going, and we'll just ramble on here. But
okay,
again, to Nate Stong at RIC, great work providing the necessary information that we needed to take on a very challenging issue with the public and our policy board to garner support for this project. So it's those kinds of relationships we really cherish, and thanks again for making that happen. And then just as a sidebar comment, this was brought in as a discussion point with some of our policymakers, which was show us a roundabout that functions What if I turn my volume down? Then I could just talk and then I don't have to hear anybody.
I believe it's Doug Dunham. Maybe the issue is solved. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Not to
that's
put
okay.
anyone on the spot.
That's okay. We can all be friends and neighbors here. But I just wanted to note that by bringing in an example, and we had some nice drone footage of this, the 68-101 roundabout in Monterey County functioning, and that the section up here shown at the top of the page sort of look functioning as the Los Ranchos Country Club property. The two-lane, the two-lane highway tapering or coming in to the 2 lanes at the roundabout and then tapering back towards Price Canyon, if you will. So when we showed them the aerial of an actual roundabout and flowing and through at the volumes that are consistent with 227, they really appreciated that, in addition to the science of the benefit cost analysis that was done. So I just want to emphasize visuals are important. Visual simulations are important. Those are things that really have great takeaways with our elected members. And it seems like more and more of the services coming out of you folks in the private sector are really helping us make those cases for certain projects as a result of that. So thank you. And then we already briefly hit on the left. So we're still in the South County priority corridor, the 101 left shoulder part-time managed lane. It's a mouthful, but it's clearly something that Caltrans District 5 is supportive of, working with us to get the construction funding. $54 million is going to be sought under the Senate Bill Cycle 3 for solutions for congested corridors. The project team has already assembled a co-nomination packet that has a lot of the legwork in terms of queuing up and to see how headquarters Sacramento looks at this particular project, to either give the nod to Caltrans District 5 to be a co-applicant with us, or if they feel there are other needs and priorities in the state that they may ask the district to stand down, and then in that case we would be the sole applicant, and you have less of a chance when you don't have your big partner that is the owner operator of the state highway system on the application with you. But time will tell. Just wanted to share that little bit of information. It's just a quick little slide from the project team for 101 and their whiteboarding of ideas and things, and great that we were able to still do that in a COVID environment. Is kudos to all those folks. East-west, everyone knows 46 East, 46 East to Kern County is huge on Caltrans District 5 and state of California. Caltrans Department of Transportation has there's $500 million already committed and or spent out that way, and there are 2 phases that we're still looking to complete, but the Y being the 4641 is fully funded. And the Antelope Grade, which is that section to Lost Hills, is the last segment that's unfunded. So that's about $100 million unfunded segment. The Y here is about $130 million segment. And then maybe consistent, or to complement Steve's discussion on costs and inflation, the district the Caltrans District 5 just was awarded before the Transportation Commission last week an increase in the Chelam segment, which is a 5-mile segment, and they sought an extra 40% on the prior construction estimate, and that amounted to quite a bit of money. About, I want to say it was $40 million that the CTC accepted their justification for the cost increases. And so that Chelam segment that we thought was fully funded, then wasn't, is now again fully funded. The Y fully funded, Lost Hills, Antelope Grade not funded. Just on that note, though, there is a move from the Kern County side going west. And Kern Cog, our partner to the east, pulled us all in the room together, had some idea on how to take this 2-lane taper at the county line before it goes to a single lane, before it merges up into or opens back up into a passing lane. There's thought, and actually, and it seems like it's in motion right now, and it's to add width about less than a mile that connects the two. So it'll be 2 lanes to the passing lane going eastbound. That should provide just a nice little operational interim fix while Caltrans and SLOCOG pursues the balance of funding that's needed for the full conversion of the 2-lane expressway to a 4-lane. So let's hop into what's really of not new interest, but the urban area of 46 and the hard work that the city of Paso Robles is doing as it relates to improving their parallel road system, trying to keep the local traffic off of 46. And they have a concept at Golden Hill and Union, working with Wallace, I believe, here locally. And they have a development interests looking at this frontage off of Dry Creek down to Tractor Lane. But this overpass in the big red circle, I don't know if assuming my mouse is being visible, but the overpass, much like Prado, is a phased project. So phase 1 is to construct the overpass that connects the northern parallel frontage system to the southern frontage system, and accessing the airport and some of the industrial area that's being proposed up in the north section there, the northeast section of City of Paso Robles. We are a funding partner on seeing this improvement happen on over State Route 46, with $500 million invested plus another couple of hundred still needed, or another 150 needed. The throughput, getting folks to the confluence to 101 and the freight and everything else. We don't want to see the development in and around Paso Robles and the local traffic having to create more congestion that's necessary than is needed. So this improvement, here's a rendering that was produced by Mott McDonald that shows what this overpass looks like. We're in for a 10% of the funds. The city and SLOCOG have split the pre-construction investment 50-50. The city should be getting ready for their design phase request for allocation vote from the CTC here shortly. But the SB1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, Cycle 3, this becomes a candidate for those funds. The city is planning a sit down with the CTC staff to go over some of the preliminary application discussions. So that looks good. We'll see what happens this cycle. When I say 10%, 10% is equivalent to, do we have 5 million? We have 3.6 million. So this is a $36 million overpass estimated at this point in time. Mention the peanut, right? And this is the peanut at Golden Hill and Union, which is on the south side of 46 and their parallel frontage system. So the city has all the resources committed to implement this improvement. And I think they've received final okay from their council to proceed, but they're very excited about this at that very challenging intersection at Golden Hill and Union. Let's hop into, and then lastly at the confluence again at 46, now going west. A lot of good things happening there still. The northwest quadrant is this is not yet constructed. The realignment of Vine Street. The city is fully committed to delivering that phase of the parallel road system. And then we are fully committed to working with the county and the city to implement these 2 roundabouts. We know full well that these will require SB1 grants at some point in time to secure this capital funding. But there's a refresh from a URS project report that is underway that the city is the lead on. But when we get to the design phase, it's possible that SLOCOG may take the lead on that phase, which we expect here in the next 6 to 12 months. Money is all committed in the RTIP, and we're ready to get this teed up for capital funding shortly. And then we're starting to run now. We're at quarter to one here, Steve. I'm gonna move past.
Doing great.
I'm gonna move past some of the stuff, just quick little snapshots of things happening. I wanted to just note that this is once a concept with Walmart Supercenter coming in and the El Camino Real roundabout and the two ramp head roundabouts.
I have W-Trans to do that.
W-Trans, right? But this is now the city's pivoting on the land use side of this. They're looking at much less trip generation with the new land use assumptions. And we're probably looking at more like west side operational improvements at the ramp heads, significantly lower cost project. The county is very interested in rebooting the North Main Street 101 Templeton project. They had done, and these are images from the PID document, the PSR document. Their ultimate plan is to, when this gets rebooted and they have the money to, their skin in the game of doing the environmental work, that it does acknowledge and look at the possibility of project components of independent utility. Do the west side first, or do the east side first, or do one quadrant first, whatever the case may be. Just something that's realistic as it relates to the availability of funding. Another fully funded project in our RTIP from this fund cycle is the 141 operational improvements in Morro Bay. The city was had approved a local sales tax measure in 2020, and we basically had funds already committed, but cost increases were such that we kept having to chase increases and revise estimates. But to close the gap, the city and SLOCOG agreed to split the difference of the gap, which is about 4 million. They came in with 2. We closed the gap with 2, so we're in with 5 million. The city's in with 2, and this has got some work still to do. They've got some archaeological concerns, but this should be progressing just fine in the near term. And this is hard to read, maybe not, but this is a summary, and I can get this out to anybody. But these are some of the pre-construction activities in the schedule that I would think that your group would be interested in knowing, and we can refine some of these dates as they get more clear to us. But the money's committed to make all these things happen, and/or there's political will to initiate either a PID, project initiation document in the South County at Fair Oaks and Traffic, rebooting Main and 101 with the county, and then these larger interchange projects up at 46 and 101. So with funding programs, part 3, I'll roll through this because it is information overload. The federal infrastructure bill is got so many things happening. Our executive director was in Washington, D.C. over the early part of the week. The National Association of Regional Councils, Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, the National Association of Counties, all 3 of those entities are pooling resources so that they can try to understand and articulate in a single unified message the opportunities. So there's a lot of new discretionary programs without question. There's a lot of conversation about how to simplify it so that each of these new, and I was shocked when Pete told me that there were 71 new discretionary programs, and that at least federal highways and the implementing agencies from the federal side are looking to streamline a process so that the applications aren't, one different application, one set of guidelines for each new discretionary program. But there's a lot that needs to unravel here still. And so those top 3 associations are doing some hard work for all of us. California is actively engaged with working groups trying to understand the formula monies versus the discretionary monies. So I would like to have started this and made this whole presentation just on this and tell you, this is where all the new money is, and this is how we're going to get it. But there'll be plenty of new money for discretionary programs. There'll be the formula funds are probably going to offset shortages in like the bridge program that's much needed in our county and others. But all I can say is put a pin in this and let's come back and maybe have another chat sometime in the future. But do go to build.gov. The White House has taken the initiative over the agency at Federal Highways. They have a very good website that does the notice of funding opportunities and summarizing some of the guidebook related issues. So take a look there to stay on point. State programs, we all know we're in that season of state grants through SB1 and ATP, the Active Transportation Program. The services that your group can provide member agencies, local agencies, and ourselves, in terms of grant support is very valuable getting through some of these grant programs and grant seasons. And that's all kicking in here this spring and summer. So just wanted to make certain that you're aware of that. California Transportation, Active Transportation Program. Then lastly, our SLOCOG is going to jump into a $7 million plus community betterment safe streets for all grant program, something that's a little more micro sized that gets our local agencies excited about getting a little more of a localized, self-sustaining community mobility, access improvement, safety improvement on the ground. Our board's really been very adamant about just seeing some dirt turned and getting stuff done in the next 3 years. So when we do this call for projects, it'll happen in April, and we're looking to make some awards in June, and we're going to only fund projects that can demonstrate the ability to deliver and on a schedule that meets our program objectives of turning dirt within the next 3 years. And I won't go through these lists, but we last year we compiled a level of interest from our partners of what kind of projects. I can maybe share this slide deck if anybody would like it.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
Hey, this is David Athy. Great. Glad to hear we've got 7 million coming. Do you think SLOCOG is going to include some safe routes to school in that 7 million?
Yeah, well, that'll definitely be a category in which folks can apply for funding. Absolutely.
Okay, so you're going to have more than just bigger projects.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet, Dave. And then, so this is the laundry list of interest that's coming out of our public works staff. And this may be of interest to many of you. We could share that again through email. So I'm not going to go into each of these. A lot of recent planning efforts helping to influence the call for projects. And I won't get into those, but there's a quick little summary of it. Safe Routes to School needs assessments that Dave mentioned. A lot of great local best practices. City of San Luis, very active, obviously, and been in downtown or in and around the perimeter of San Luis. Some great separated bike lane facilities that some of our partners, we encourage our partner agencies, member agencies to steal good ideas. And I think folks are starting to consider such things. And a lot of great complete streets planning going on that we want to help implement down in Arroyo Grande and Halcyon, City of Tascadero and Paso, if we're able to. So look for that April 3rd, the grant application. And then I think we can just shut her down. Part 5, consultant services. These are the kinds of things we really appreciate and can use some of your assistance on. And we'll do that as we can. Not even going to read through this, but there it is, some of the obvious stuff. We do have a qualified consultant list. It was generated in June of 2019. It's supposed to be updated in June of 2022. These are the various categories that we have. We've talked internally about extending that list, but making certain that it's clear that there's a way to amend the list. So if some folks who have a strong interest in getting into our qualified consultant list that aren't on it, we want to create an opportunity for more folks to be added, if that's something that you wish to do. So I'll just leave it at that on the announcements front. I'm going to remind you again on the RTP engagement. And then we're going to conduct a transportation safety forum in October of 2022 that we look to work with our partners on. So this should be a fun and informative session later in the year. And that's it. And I left Steve with 5 minutes. That's what happens when you come into the Giants house. All right, let's get Steve's deal up here. I can't just walk away from you here, right? That's this is you, and this is you, and that's you. And I think you're on.
Amy, can you see that screen?
Yes, you're good to go.
Thank
And then
you.
Rich, did you say you would be sharing your presentation with the group?
I can do that, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll send it to you, Amy, and you can send it out. How about that?
That's perfect.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to keep mine very brief. First of all, thank you very much, Rich. There's tremendous amount of information and very interesting, for the whole county, what's going on. And I urge anybody to contact Rich. He's very easy to get information out of, and he's really powerful in getting projects moved, transportation projects for local agencies throughout this county. So thank you very much. As Rich insinuated, cost estimating is extremely important for these projects. Nothing's worse than have a cost estimate and say it's 23 million and you get it funded, and then all of a sudden you go back to the voters and you say 2 years later it's 63 million. You kind of lose credibility. They don't want to hear excuses. They just are frustrated that it costs so much more and where are you going to get that money for it. So I'm just going to go over a couple key points. A lot of you know this, but I'm just going to reiterate the importance of cost estimates. And one thing on a planning document, you're not going to have as much detail as you are on a set of construction documents. So what you do is you adjust your contingencies. A planning document, you might put 50% contingencies on that, whereas on a construction document, you might only have 10 or 15% contingencies. So that's one way to make it up. And the other thing is, don't forget major categories. Get that environmental in there. It always takes more than you think. Get your right-of-way in there. Get all those costs that are associated with producing all those documents. Extremely important. So with the main things that go wrong in a cost estimate, number one, because I just said, because the original estimate is wrong, bias towards underestimating. You're sitting in your nice comfortable office and you don't think of all the things that could possibly happen and the cost of all the different items. It's very easy when you're not in the field with a backhoe behind you. Lack of experience and knowledge in the process. Right-of-way acquisitions, like I said earlier, regulations, environmental permits. So in estimating a new project, you need a well-defined scope. What exactly are you doing? What exactly are you building? Quantities. This the gentleman at HDR produced this slideshow that he gave me permission to give. So these are his words. Must have quantities. I totally agree. How do you know? Also look for the big quantity items. If you have something that's got a million cubic yards, it's more important than a quantity. It's only got 10 cubic yards because it's got a much higher value. Get contractor quotes if you can, so you get recent numbers. Caltrans also is a great resource. You can go on their website and they have all their engineers' estimates and all their quantities and costs for actual projects for the last 10, 15 years. Very informative. So market volatility. We all know we have inflation. 7% is the core inflation rate, just reduced by the federal government today. So everything's going up. Gasoline, we all know that, $5 a gallon. Food. Look at this. So there we are at 7% on the consumer price index for the year 2021. And all the other years, we're kind of right in here at about 2.5%. Construction market continues to see significant increases in cost of materials. This is new residential construction, up 30% over this time frame. And this other one is up 12.6% over the time frame. So steel mill products have gone up lumber, copper, brass, see, they've all gone up substantially. Here's those lumber costs that skyrocketed way up and then dropped way down. This is where I built my shed, right here. I went from paying $3 a stud to paying $8 a stud at Home Depot. So this is the construction job openings. The other thing, same thing happening to the construction industry. It's hard to get good people. They're not the great resignation, as they're calling it, and getting people to work for them, that's extremely difficult. So the AGC estimates that there's going to be higher delays in costs than anticipated. 84% in the survey say that they're going to take longer and cost more. Materials, here's the material increases. Here is the historic material changes. So here's time, this is 2006, 2021. You can see how high the increases were. So the AGC expects a great amount more projects, probably because of the federal infrastructure bill next year. Here's the stuff Rich was talking about, the money that's going into all these projects from the federal infrastructure bill. Capital planning, Saylor Consulting says use a 5% escalation rate. Check labor and condition materials trends. Look at your schedules, make sure, because if you schedule projects not scheduled out for 3 years, that means 3 years of inflation on your costs. Keep track of historical bids. Those are very helpful in trying to get your costs pinned down. With that, I'll wrap it up. I do have one announcement. The APWA golf tournament is scheduled, is on, guaranteed. That is May 20th. Everybody put that in your calendar. May 20th, 1 o'clock shotgun start at Cypress Ridge Golf Course. We have a great golf tournament, lots of prizes. We're going to have some beer booths out there on the course, and we're going to have a taco truck afterwards. We'll have some tacos and some drinks and give out prizes and awards. So May 20th, APWA golf. With that, I'm done.
That was
So
amazing, very quick. Thank you both so much. I know we're at time and some people had to drop, but yeah, I really appreciate all your time here. And I know we wanted to wrap it up with a raffle like we do. Leroy, are you still on?
Yes, I'm on and ready to go. Are you seeing my screen? No?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I see two screens. Am I the only one? Oh,
Oh, wait,
no, I'm seeing Rich's
Got
still.
to hit the share button.
Here we go.
Okay, you see it now.
Nice.
Oops.
Look at this.
What did I do with it? Sorry. Okay,
Wheel of
away
Fortune.
we go. I was afraid of that. So we have a Zoom user.
Okay.
I tried to message this person and get their name, but I did not get their name. Does anybody want to
So funny.
claim
Let's-
that now?
Let's try again.
Okay.
I
Here
don't
we
see
go.
that person on anyways.
Nick Bothwell from M&S Engineering.
There we go. So we'll be sending Nick a gift card for DoorDash. Is that correct? $25.
Yes.
Exciting. All right. And with that, we have a couple speaker gifts for Rich and Steve. Andrea will be in touch to get addresses to send those to. So thank you all. Good to see some familiar faces. And Rich, I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. And I will certainly get you some information and you can circulate as you wish.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
And I was recording, so this will be up for later.
I didn't see the chat.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye.